right, we'll call this meeting to order of the Central Vermont Career Center School District Board. It's January 13th. It's a little after 6 o'clock. Do we have any guests? Hello? Hello? And you are, sir?
Jason Nico, Principal, Montpelier High School.
Oh, very good. Welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Matt McLean. I'm the Director of Flexible Pathways at Montpelier High School.
Very good. Thank you. Can you join us?
I've been seeing all,
Oh,
I
okay.
need to move.
That's all right, okay.
That's okay, sorry.
Well, we don't have a treadmill.
Yeah, but I need a trip.
All right. We all know that we are civilized people and we will behave as such. We have our agreements and our norms that we adhere to. And we have any board comments for individuals from the board? No, all right, hearing none, we'll go on to public comments. Do we have any correspondence or comments? Jody, did you get any correspondence?
I did have one person reach out about us looking at the Montpelier Country Club as potential land, and I did respond that we have been in contact a couple of times. But as I said to the Program Quality Committee, I think it's smart to pause our facilities work right now and wait to see what the governor's going to say on the 28th to see if that sends us in another direction.
Yep. All right.
With the mega consolidation.
Yes.
Yes, however it goes. All right. Any other board members? Any public input or correspondence from the public? All right, very good. Carrying on, we have an agenda, which I presume you have all scanned. I need a motion to approve the agenda
So moved.
as written.
I move that we approve.
Right, and I need a second.
I'll second that.
Second, okay. And any discussion, any additions or corrections to the agenda? Anyone have anything they need to add? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving this agenda, please say aye.
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 Okay, we got it. We're good to go. Now we have the consent agenda, and the only thing on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes from the 9th of December 2024. I need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
Second, Jana. Any discussion on these minutes, additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving these minutes on the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Moving on to board reports. Student representative to the board. Is there a report about or concerning? No. Program presentation, emergency services. And we have emergency services with us tonight.
Probably need to log in, don't I?
You have the
Yes. Just need to jump on this meeting.
We'd like to welcome you, sir, to our board meeting.
Thank you. Jody's pulling up the presentation that I have.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump online here because my other computer's over there.
I couldn't believe all the things that the school board association
What's
said
that?
we needed to change in all of our policies. There were so many things. It was,
Chase is our member,
Mhm.
our student member, but he almost always is working on a Monday night.
Yeah. The fire training.
maybe we could get an alternate.
Now, if I can just get behind this thing. Sorry, I'm not used to a Chromebook.
Carl, how many years have you been doing this?
This is my 6th year here.
He's been in EMS a little over 6.
More years than I want to admit to. Okay, so actually, both programs were supposed to be presenting tonight, but Bob Bauer, our EMS 1 instructor, had another commitment tonight, so he couldn't. So I'm gonna just briefly overview his, so like I said, Bob Bauer teaches our Emergency Services 1 program. This is his 2nd year here. And Jody asked if I kind of just talk about it and kind of what the big differences are. So the Emergency Services 1 program teaches the students to be EMTs, and they sit their national EMT certification exam at the end of that program. If they were to take this program out as a community course, it's about 180 hours. But with our course, it ends up being almost 3 times that in hours-wise, which is actually benefits our students because it just allows the instructor more time with them. It allows them to do a deeper dive into the breadth and depth of the material that they're learning, and it gives them more time to practice and become proficient with the skills that they're doing throughout the program. They also do other things in addition to what you would get in a normal EMT program, because this is a career center based program, so they get a lot of additional things that that they wouldn't get, and between civics and literacy and math and all those things that not in a traditional EMT course. They also currently get 5 credits from Vermont State University for this program, starting in next fall, so fall of '25. VTSU is increasing those credits to 6 to be on the same level with other colleges and universities in the region across the country too, because most of them are because the number of hours have increased over the last several years, to be on that same level with others. So it makes the credits more easily transferable to if a student wanted to go to another institution like UVM, or if a student chooses to go to do a firefighting course up in Maine. There's several community colleges up there that do firefighting, and they have associate's degrees connected with that, and they're all at 6 credits. So it just puts them on the same level and stuff. Currently, Bob has actually 11 students now, but has had 12 students, up until the holiday break and stuff. It has a total of 20 applicants for next year between first and second choice. I think 11 first choice and 9 second choice. And like I said, in program quality, a lot of the students that apply to the medical professions also put EMS as their second choice. So there's there ends up being some crossover there, and medical professions this year has 40 applicants and stuff. So I would not be surprised if a lot of those students you see trickle over into EMS after the first round decisions are made and stuff, and applying for second round. That tends to happen with students, especially if they really want to be at the career center. The Emergency Services 2 program, I'm the instructors for that, obviously, and what they get is or gives them the ability to sit for their National Registry Paramedic certification at the end of the program. They get through about 2/3 of the program with us. And it follows along the college semester. So they do fall, spring, and summer semester is all of their classroom and lab learning, and along with some of their clinical time that they do out in the field during those 3 semesters. And the first 3 to 4 weeks of their summer semester, they're still with us, so it puts them in this weird limbo place because they can't apply to VTSU because they haven't graduated from high school yet. So that's why we also lump the summer semester with us, because they're still with us for a third of the of their summer semester. So it's not fair to them to kind of hang them out for that third semester when they're still our students for a chunk of that time. So through VTSU, through those 3 semesters, they end up with 33 credits by the end of that time frame. At the end of the summer semester, they're totally done with their didactic and lab learning. If they are on track and have finished all of their required clinical time, so their hospital and field clinical time, by the end of the summer semester, then in the fall semester, they enter their capstone field internship phase, which is the last piece of it, where they are working out on an ambulance with a preceptor, and they're the primary one in charge under that preceptor. So they're running EMS calls as a provider. They have their safety net of that, of a paramedic that's been in, that there's their preceptor, but they are essentially expected to run the calls at that point and stuff. If they need to, they get a complicated case and they need to look at their preceptor for assistance, then that doesn't count as one of their team leads that they need. They need a total of 25 team leads where they are the one in charge and successfully, run the whole call from beginning to end. If they don't finish all their hospital and field clinicals before the end of the summer semester, they can continue finish up their clinicals in that fall semester, and then as soon as they meet that, then they can, move on into the capstone field internship phase. So the soonest that the program can be completed is, we had not one of our CVCC students, but one of the BTSU paramedic students last year was done and tested by, I want to say September 10th or so, and passed as paramedic. So, which is only a month after the summer program ends. That was a very focused, dedicated, student that was wanted to get it done, and we've had several others shortly after him do that from that cohort that is finishing up. So that's the soonest it can be done. I tell students when they're applying that it's probably going to, in their cases, probably within 6 months of graduating from high school, or and finishing at the tech center, that they would be done with their paramedic program and ready to sit the certification exam.
Good.
Yes, we are, just to reiterate, as you all know, we're the only program in the state and in the country that's starting students out in a paramedic program as seniors in high school. So this is a very unique, not only to the state, but to the country in all my research. So student data, the program's been kind of consistently growing over this is year 3 of it. As we talked about in program quality, we had 5 applicants now in first and second choice candidates for at the end of round 1 applications. I haven't done any outreach to other CTE centers because I am able to do that being the only program in the state, but I have not done that yet because this has become a barrier reaching out to other centers, because the other 3 programs that are relatively close to us that do the equivalent of our EMS 1 program. I'll do it in a student's senior year, so that would make them first year post-graduation, which they would be allowed to come back as an adult student and take the program. But as I'll explain later, there's some barriers to that and stuff. So I have not done that much outreach to other tech centers in the region. So this current students cohort, so the 24-25 applicants, there were 18 total, and we ended up with 5 currently. We started with 6. 1 had to withdraw for personal reasons about 6 weeks into the school year.
Did you accept more than 6 though?
Yes, there were 12. I think there was 12 that were originally accepted, and 6 over the summer withdrew for various reasons and stuff. The 23-24 year, so the second year of the program, there was there were 9 total applicants over all 3 rounds, and then ended up with 4 students. We had accepted, I don't remember the number offhand, I know we had accepted more than that. I think we had accepted, all 9 students were accepted into the program, and then for various reasons, 5 withdrew over the summer. And then in the first year, there were 3 students that applied. We had 2 in the program, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I taught the second year and the first year courses simultaneously. So I had both groups of students in the same classroom at the same time, which was a lot of work and stuff. We made it work, and both students did well throughout the program and stuff.
That's why it actually doesn't count as your first year for this EMS 2,
Mhm.
because they were embedded in your EMS 1. So the year coming up is that 3rd year.
Okay. Next slide.
Sorry.
You mean 25, 26?
So the current students, there's a lot of stuff on there, but all of the current students have just finished their first semester at BTSU and all passed their first semester of the paramedic program. So that gives them 12 credits of the 33 so far, their first 12 credits. We do we talked about doing a lot more in our programs besides what would happen out in a normal, in the community, or just at even the college level paramedic program or EMT program. My students are reading 2 books this year. We just finished the first one, which is called American Sirens, and it's about the first paramedic service in the country, which was in Pittsburgh, and it was an all African American service. So and this was in 1967 that this started. So a very turbulent time, to say the least, in the late 60s in our history and stuff. And to have an ambulance service, that is staffed by all African American, it was unprecedented back then and stuff. So we teaches a lot of not only civics, it touches on a lot of civic stuff, history, social studies type stuff. Literacy is a component of it, just in the reading and the work that they do on the book. They get some equity, a lot of good equity discussions and proficiencies from that as well. So it ties in a lot of things from this book and stuff. And if you've never read it, it's a really fascinating book. And the summary of the book is linked in there, and Jody can send the presentation to the board afterwards, and they can check out some of those stuff. The second book we're doing, which is a little bit further down, which won't be starting until mid-February because the audiobook version of it is out, but the print version doesn't come out until the beginning of February. It's called The Paramedic Mindset, and it is written by a currently practicing paramedic who's in Australia, actually, but talks about having, about the stresses and everything that we see in the EMS field, and because we see a lot of things that no one else, and even in a lot of the healthcare things never see, even in the emergency rooms, because we're out in the field dealing with patients and at their worst times and in their worst situations and stuff. And the book talks about how to deal with these stressors and how to build resiliency, and he uses it based on his experiences in the field, but he brings in a lot of ways to cope and work with these things and building resiliency. That's all evidence-based practices and stuff. So it brings in, so it's not just him saying you should do this. There's evidence, that all of his recommendations and things he talks about are based on in the book and stuff. So I think it's going to be a really good book for the students to read, to just kind of help them build those coping mechanisms and skills, going out into the field and stuff. And both of those books are things that you don't get in a normal, any EMS course, whether it's an EMT course, paramedic course. These are things that are not built into those programs that students get in addition, being at the tech center in this program.
Just the May start date.
Oh, and then, so they start, the summer semester starts May 26th. Is that what it says?
Yep.
I can't see that far. And then, so that begins their summer semester. So they get a week in between the end of the spring semester, and they're rolling right into the summer semester for the paramedic program. So where are the students today? So looking at end results, the number of students that are actually become paramedics, we are looking at, if you measure success by that, the success rate is low. We're looking at having one student in the relatively near future. But with that said, this program has opened the doorway and pathways for lots of different things for students, and all of the students that have gone through the program are still either working in EMS on some level, or still in a healthcare field of some relation, or moved on to secondary ed in a somewhat related field, or a healthcare related field. So from last year's cohort, we have our first student that is going to be completing their paramedic field internship and completing the course. So they should be done in relatively near future with that, and then sitting their paramedic exam. And they not only are finishing up that, but they are working full-time through one of the agencies here in Central Vermont, as an EMT, and have been working worked part-time throughout the whole school year with this service as well. And they were our kind of first student to do on this level, kind of a hybrid co-op option. So they were working 2 days a week for the ambulance service as an EMT, and then in the classroom with us 2 days a week, and then the 1 day a week at Williston at the paramedic lab. So they were very busy for the year that they've been with us and stuff. Our student number 2, opted to not finish their field internship because they were moving out of state to work as an EMT and from family situation and stuff. So they were eligible because they finished the summer semester. They were eligible to take the advanced EMT exam. So they are in the process of doing that and are working full-time down in Tennessee now. And then student number 3, again, didn't finish their field internship, but is continuing their education at Concordia University in Montreal, and is going to be studying physical therapy and working with children with disabilities is what they want to specialize in. And they've been, up until them leaving this past weekend, I believe, to Concordia, they've been working as an EMT and, as well. And until student 2 left to move out of state at the in the mid-fall, they had been working with an EMS agency in central Vermont too. So they're all staying local and working and stuff, and if it wasn't for other circumstances, probably would still be. And I would not be surprised if student 3, when they come home on breaks, would pick up time and work on the services that they've been with. And then student 4 is attending Norwich and studying criminal justice and psychology, and not working in an EMS field, but working as a rehab support specialist at one of the local mental health facilities and stuff. So they're all doing great things. Then my first cohort, which was the 2 students that I taught simultaneously with EMS 1, both of them are working in the field and just in different facets. Student 1 is working, started out with is working for local urgent care, actually is now out of state, but for the same company, the urgent care, and is a clinical lead at the urgent care and as an EMT, and is also studying sociology at Southern New Hampshire University. And student 2 is working full-time as a firefighter EMT and also enrolled in the National Guard. Both of these students also didn't finish their field internship time. Student 2, because they were going into the Guard and were at basic training during that time, and has talked about coming back and trying to finish what he needs to do, but that's still pending and stuff. But so both students are working in related fields and doing great things. So some of the successes in the program. So all students, as far as the CTE program, have been successful completers in the EMS program and have gone on to doing, I think pretty successful things, whether they're working in the field or other medical fields or continuing their education in secondary ed. And so all of these students are either working full-time and or in school continuing their education. And the other big success that we worked on just through the health science programs is building this collaboration between the 3 health science programs and the students working together, which has been huge the last few years, working together, and it shows that there is very little animosity, if any now, between the 3 programs, whereas when I first started, it was, we were very much in silos as programs, and that's not the case anymore, and there's a lot of camaraderie. And just as an example, which is not up here, this is just an off-the-cuff thing, but a couple days after we got back from break, after the tragic events that happened over break with one of our EMS 1 students passing away, one of my students was in my classroom, and a student from another program, and it wasn't one of the health science programs, it was actually a building trade student, who both knew the student that passed away well. My student had gone to their memorial service, and the other student from building trades who had known the student well was having a little bit of difficult time, and my student they both stayed late after the end of program just to kind of talk and debrief and just support each other and stuff, which is amazing, because a few years ago that probably wouldn't have happened as fluidly as it did, because a lot of our programs were in silos. Some of it was COVID, because of COVID, but there was not a lot of cross program working and stuff, so I thought that was just such a phenomenal thing to see that. Challenges, which we all know, challenges financial, because sustainability, because we are currently paying the student tuition for the VTSU. So that's been a challenge to how to make that financially sustainable. And then the other one is being able to recruit from other CTE centers, and allowing those students that are seniors at other centers coming to do this program as technically adult students, first year post graduation, and that's not being allowed them to be counted as our students at this point, which goes kind of against the CTE ed rules, if I'm correct, Jody.
Yeah, we should be able to enroll adults into our CTE programs. The difficulty here is that the adult is also eligible for VTSU to enroll there, and of course they want that student. It's costing us $12,000 a student to send them through this program. It costs a student off the street $24,000. And for us, the amount that we can charge adult students is 40% of our tuition. So I think it's $6,500, maybe $7,500 that we charge for our adult students, and that doesn't pay the $12,000 that we have to pay to VTSU. So we ultimately have to just step back and say, you have to enroll with them, and you're welcome to join our team and be supported here, but we don't gather any money for them, and we can't do anything otherwise. I mean, Carl teaches all of the kids, whether they're VTSU students or ours, when at the Winooski or Williston.
Yeah, so on Thursdays when we are at the Williston Paramedic Lab, I'm actually the lead lab instructor up there, and I'm also part of the VTSU paramedic faculty and stuff. So I have some inside information with happenings and stuff. I do also know that the student non-CVC, so the general student tuition, is going to be going down starting next year too for that. So it'll be closer to what we're paying for our students too. And stuff. So maybe that'll change the VTSU, allowing us to have adult students.
Are we paying for the additional credit, though? Is that going to actually raise the cost from 5 to 6 credits?
That's the EMS 1
That's the
program.
EMS 1 program.
Okay.
So no.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So following the template that you guys had, so some requests from the board, if the program does continue, if you decide to continue it after tonight, creative thinking to ensure the long-term financial sustainability of this. Jody and I have done lots and lots in above and beyond work on trying to figure this out, and we think we are going in a good direction, and then we hit a roadblock or some sort of barrier and stuff. So there might be some insight that you as board members and outside of looking at this as much as Jody and I have, that might have some ideas. And then maybe, advocating to VTSU and the AOE to collaborate to make this program more, eligible for a fast forward program, and getting them on the same page to at least partially or maybe even fully paying for the students, which would solve the financial sustainability, or at least partially solve it if we were able to at least partially pay for the tuition. And then advocating to BTSU and the AOE to allow those first-year post-high school graduate students to enroll in our program as adults and afford them the same, rights and opportunities that our students in CTE, that are in the high school CTE side have. And then long-term goals to, moving to a CTE high school and students having access to more college degrees, which falls in line with what the governor and the AOE want to have students do, and how we can do that through hopefully the health sciences track, building that towards that, if we end up, moving in that direction. And then, hopefully figuring out the funding and the model across programs and stuff. And then this could be a model for, if we figure this out, how to build this track and this collaboration with BTSU, it could be a model for other programs to follow suit and stuff, because BTSU has secondary ed programs for many of our programs. They have auto programs, they have electrical there, they have so many of our different programs where students may be able to, follow in some sort of similar track and move on to, work towards their associate's degree or just even advancing their career and stuff. I think that's good. Questions? Sorry, I rambled on.
No, it's
Guy,
great.
you have a question?
Actually, a couple of comments. Carl, I just want to commend you and praise you for being part of our faculty. I'm not sure how many of the board members have read his resume or looked at what he does outside the world, but this gentleman is working really hard at trying to make sure that we meet a very, very critical need in Vermont. So I just want to thank you up front for that, because I think it's, you're not getting that, the credit you deserve. The other thing I wanted to mention is I appreciate you mentioning the tragedy over the holidays, and I can't imagine what it was like. I mean, I'm not in the school. I read about it, and my heart just I can't even talk about it. You're there, the students were there, and I really appreciate you mentioning it, so thank you.
We did have our first day back. All three of the health science programs got together and supported each other, and with help from Jody and Abby and Hannah and Carrie, they were all there in support, as well as the three instructors, for the students and each other and stuff, because it's not a thing that we deal with on an everyday basis, or at least most people deal with on an everyday basis. I unfortunately have seen more than my share of these tragedies and stuff.
It's fitting to also say that we worked really well with Montpelier on communicating this. It was a Montpelier student, and so it was probably the easiest time to ever really get all together and formulate a message together and work to support one another. And so I'm grateful that we're being hosted by Montpelier, and also that we were able to collaborate on getting the message out and to take care of our kids.
Any other questions or comments?
No, it's just so wonderful. Just the potential for these young people to advance in their career path. And
All of our programs do that, and.
this is the only one in the world.
Well, I don't know about that, but, At least in the United States. Thank you all for listening.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you. All right, so now we move forward into committee reports. Facilities, is there a report from facilities?
We did not meet.
Okay.
Terry can talk about it.
Well, that's fine. I was just gonna say, we didn't meet last week because we really didn't have any agenda items. We were waiting for our agreement from the attorney, which we have not received yet. So, and then, you know, to Jody's point, kind of thinking we should wait for a few weeks anyway, to see what the governor says. My only concern with that is we're at that point where we should be starting concept design right now. So it is gonna put us behind, a little bit. So, just so everybody's aware.
All righty. Negotiations, is there a report from negotiations?
I don't know if we have a lead on
Aren't you
that.
in negotiation?
I am on the negotiations team. We have a meeting after this.
Okay.
We're going for the long haul tonight.
Oh, all righty.
All-nighter.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have any negotiations between now and the last meeting, and we have one scheduled for tomorrow. So,
All righty, and program quality. We have some interesting
a lot.
information from that.
Did you take good notes, Lyman? Or am I just going for it?
I think, just in case the rest of the board did not look at the program quality packet,
Okay.
a couple of things that we want to note is, you probably can't see this whole thing, that's not helpful. 334 first round applicants. That's a record. We also got, I don't remember where that information came from, but we have seen a 16% increase over the last 3 years in our students, and we're one of the top 3 growing CTEs in Vermont. So that's pretty cool to see. If you look at the tab in this, and this is linked, this spreadsheet is linked to the agenda for program quality as well, you can see what we have for first and second round. On that first colorful one, it only showed you what the first choices are. I'm sorry, not first and second round. First round, first and second choice programs. So that means if I'm a student applying and I want to go to culinary, I put that as my first choice. And then what if I don't get in? I pick a second choice. So you'll see that of the 334 students, 255 of them also indicated a second choice. What we heard in the program quality meeting is that if a student chooses cosmetology, they don't choose a second choice. If choosing exploratory, they also don't usually choose a second choice because for the most part they're too young to get into our regular programming. Though you can see out of the there was 47 first choice and there were 6 second choice students for that. So they may still be younger and they still were trying to get into automotive or building trades or electrical first, and then put exploratory as their second choice, hoping that we would accept a 10th grader potentially into one of those programs.
And we also talked about with exploratory numbers, and this goes back to a kind of a greater collaboration with Spalding itself, because we have so many Spalding students who have applied for electrical and exploratory. So there's the possibility that in the afternoon, if we have the instructors to do the morning and then the afternoon for the Spalding students, that we could actually maximize the number of students that participate in those programs.
Right, I think, I don't think program quality was able to make a decision, partly because of time tonight, and partly because it's a hard decision to make. But we have to think about that facilities vision, and where we say we want access for more students, and then do we follow that now and give access to more students that are already applied, or do we give more time for some of the programs that have fewer applications to build on that? And so we have, as Carl was talking about, his program is rather small as far as right now, the number of applicants for it. There were 6 total. Now there's 5, unfortunately. 'Cause the student we lost over the break was one of those applicants.
But we talked about merging EMS 1 and EMS 2 when we. would
Yeah,
have
when we
those
look at the
numbers.
count for the state, like even this year, they weren't very concerned because we had total 12 plus 5, 12 plus 6 at the start of the year. And so we had 18 total, so they were like, if you divide that by 2, both programs have more than 8.
Yeah.
Because they're the same zip code. If you don't have another program to balance out like that, I mean, we have digital media arts can do that, cosmetology could do that. That's how we can keep
Those
those.
are the same zip code.
Zip code, yep.
Zip code.
CIP, SIP.
Oh, because I'm thinking zip code and it just doesn't work for me.
No, it's a CTE thing.
And you
Okay.
also have one of my students that have applied for co-op, which the co-op number should count.
The co-op number technically should count if that person is
So that does
accepted.
bring it back up to.
Correct, good point, thank you. Whereas it's questionable whether we're gonna get those extra applicants in design and fabrication, and there is no one to balance that class out with, unfortunately, in that same way.
But Giuliani thinks that with more time, he'll be able to make that. And then the question of time came up because those students who might not get their first choice because the program may not continue will then be at a disadvantage.
Correct. So we could close a program and try to open a second program of electrical, for example, with the potential of getting 16 more of those 40 first choicers into a program if we can find a teacher, which is why you would need to start that sooner than later. We can say that's a future idea that we want to pursue and not talk about it this year. We could we could give a little extra time for round 2 and
Right.
potentially put some students at a disadvantage for accessing CTE and potentially decrease our numbers if we do have to close it late.
And industry wants it.
Yep, and on the newest industry survey, there's definitely a want for advanced manufacturing skills, which are some of the skills that come through the design and fabrication program. I checked that in between meetings to see I only have 11 responses so far, but that's what we see there. So it's potentially a very difficult decision on what do we do. I feel like we have to adopt a budget tonight. There's no choice on that. And that's because we have to set our tuition by law on the 15th. So Wednesday, we have to get that into the state. So there's no wiggle room for us on that. So we need to think about these decisions that we're making and think about the kids, all the potential kids that are impacted, and decide, give us direction for next year.
And Carl had said that he has taught EMS 1 and EMS 2 combined.
The first year that I did it, yes.
The first year that you did it. It wouldn't be your choice.
I don't think it'd be allowable.
You don't think what?
I don't think it'd be allowable.
Yeah, it was with 2 students
was a
in
pilot.
the second
Yeah, I
year
don't think-
and being a pilot kind of program. It was doable. It was not ideal for either group of students because it would pull me away from focusing on one
Right.
group or the other.
And for you too.
Yeah.
Right,
So
okay,
we made it work for that first year
right.
to get through it, but
And then jamais. After that, never again.
I see.
What?
Guy and Lyman.
Actually, I'll let Lyman go first because he probably has more information than I do.
Thanks, Guy. So a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And the first was this idea that Design and Fab has 3 and 2 for the second choice. Is that right? 3 and 2 young. And what we don't know, which I was just thinking about, is we don't know if those 2 that have the second choice are going to get their first choice of whatever else it is. And so if they do, then we're back down to 3. Because I don't think that if they should just go to their second choice because we want to fill a program. I feel strongly about that. And I don't really like the idea of delaying this decision any longer. I feel like we did that last year. We moved it all the way to August. It didn't happen. And now it feels like we're going to do that same process again. And I don't want to lose that program, but I also see the potential for 37 kids to take electrical. That's a lot of kids, if we could figure out the afternoon program thing. Flip side of that is there's a lot of ifs. So.
Guy, anything to add?
Well, that's why I have smarter people speak before me. But the question I was gonna ask and the comment I was gonna make is, in spite of what we might do, it looks like we're on track of still turning away roughly 100 kids.
Yep.
If my math is correct, and it probably isn't, but, and so, and that's that continues to be an all-time high, and so it's gonna be my mantra when I talk to people about, program and expansion and stuff is, just look at the numbers. The numbers speak for themselves. Now, the other question I have is, and maybe this is a question for Jody and your staff, is at what point does this become discouraging for people if we can't change things? I mean, at what point are people gonna say, you know what, this is not worth it. I can't make it, I can't get in there, I can't, I'm getting turned away. And so I have that as that concern. And I'm sure the program quality people have talked about that.
Your math is not wrong, Guy. It was exciting to see that many applicants and also heartbreaking knowing that we can't serve them all.
And that we have to put it on hold because we don't know where the state is going.
I don't think we have to put it on hold that long. but
Okay, good.
Can we give it a 2-week pause?
Oh, we could do that.
So that brings us, Terry?
I kind of agree with Lyman. I feel like we've kicked the can down the road once, and as much as I, again, don't want to close the program, I kind of see it's kind of pushing us too, right? And I know that maybe the surveys are coming out saying they want advanced manufacturing, but maybe we need more information than that. Like, what exactly does that mean? And I know you said, Jody, they get some of those skills from that, but is it enough for these employers to say, yeah, we're gonna take one of those students? I don't know.
Does it go away? Does it come back in the future if that happens?
We would have to start
We'd have to
over by
start.
applying for the program to start again and
Right.
explaining how it's going to be different this time.
Find an instructor, Giuliani gets on, makes
Yeah.
another plan in his amazing artistic life.
Guy?
That's hard.
Well, I could have heard this incorrectly, but I think the program we're talking about tonight, when I talked to the instructor, is that the individual felt that the program was not named correctly, and it was based on the state insisting on the name. I dreaming that up?
No, that's correct. And this year in the program of studies, we did add stone trades to it so that students could see that.
And it hasn't made a difference?
Not really, not yet.
Yeah.
I think Giuliano spoke with the program quality committee earlier and shared too that when students tour our center and they come down for open house this year, he was available and he could share some pieces of work that students had done and he could talk about the program, but he couldn't show them the museum or the tools that they'd be working with. So that also plays a role.
Lyman?
I think we're also in a tough position with that one because he talked about the fact that like Global Foundries would be excited to have, you know, our students feed into them. And I think there's a disconnect between that and working with Stone and making that jump. I mean, we can make that jump, but I don't know that a lot of people could make that jump. That design and fab is design and fab.
Could I say something?
Sure.
So design and fabrication is kind of caught in this middle ground between the heavy trades and the programs, digital media arts. So it's this weird position where we're heavy in arts, but also heavy in the industries. And a lot of people in the industries go to electrical, welding, and automotive because they're established and they've always been there. Same with digital media arts. So I kind of get left in the middle, and it's the way it was set up, and even just being the instructor for half a year was difficult to get the program up to where it should be, and then having it put on hold. That really put me at a disadvantage to promote the program because half of it was not available. So it's really hard to say whether or not is it the program or is it the promotion of the program, because half of it on either side wasn't available. Last year, there were 5 applicants, and then there were 2 that were unable to do it because of their age. So that would have brought it up to 7, and the program would have been running. Right now, in round 1, I have 5, 3 first round and 2 second rounds, and it looks like it would be close to 4 applicants going into design and fabrication. And I feel that I could get 10 only because it's the availability of the equipment. Any more students would require more money being put into the program. So I felt that 10 was the max and a good number for me to get, and I still feel comfortable that I could get 10, reaching out from other schools other than our sending schools.
Lyman, is your hand still up, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to make clear that I appreciate how much work you put into it and that you are, you know, fighting an uphill battle here with the hand you were dealt. So I want to make sure that that's on the record.
Is that Guy's hand over there?
Guy?
I'm keeping up my, so the other thing that hasn't been said, I don't think, but probably has in program committee, is that there originally was a collaboration with Norwich University. And that's a pretty big loss, I think, in terms of name recognition and potential promotion and potential, stuff. And I'm not sure how much we've talked about that. And I don't know the history behind it, But that's a huge deal, you know? Losing that collaboration, I think is, pretty, it's not great.
So the director of the Granite Museum was also looking to VTSU to partner. He's been in contact with them, but as far as I know, as of right now, hasn't received any return calls, but that could have changed.
So is that something that we have to decide this tonight?
You'll be deciding it when you decide your budget.
Yeah.
So we can kick it to the budget hour, or you can make a decision now.
I think we should wait for the budget out.
Yeah, I'm thinking, let's keep it within the budget and see what we can do, because
Okay.
it just appears to be such a monumental loss to the
Yeah.
area, that's just something that, here we are, sitting in the midst of granite and deciding whether or not to say no to something
That we really want.
yeah. Okay, so we'll kick that recommendation for programming over to the 6.7, 6.8, 6.9 area. All right. And everybody think long and hard about it in the next
Hour.
20 minutes. We'll move forward to the superintendent's report. Jody?
We've covered the first two items on there, so I won't do that again. Was able to present our option A budget to all of our sending school boards last month. 5 of them in 1 week, which is a record. 3 in 1 night. Never done that before. And I think it worked. So we just got notification last week that we're eligible for 25,000 more Perkins funds. Basically, when at the end of the last year, they figured out what didn't get spent and they reallocated those funds across our centers. So I will be amending our Perkins grant for that and another reason. And I will not start amending until I get the AOE monitoring report that was due to us in mid-December. And I have a promise from the agency person in the fiscal field that we will have it tomorrow. I asked for it today because I thought it might have budget implications. It may have budget implications. And so even the decisions you make tonight, we might have to figure out something different with our budget, whatever you decide, based on those implications. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I receive that, I will share it with the board, good, bad, everything. And Michelle and I will immediately start working on any recommendations that come from that to make sure that we get everything in order. So we have been not so patiently waiting for this report because we know there are some recommendations coming out of it, and we haven't unfortunately been able to do anything about that yet. We have, the Vermont Superintendents Association has gotten agreement on across the state on February and April break. So we will have the most aligned statewide calendar ever in the breaks.
That's a long time
There's some
coming.
PD days that are different, but yeah, it's amazing that all of the breaks will be in the same week. So the February one and April, we couldn't get everyone to decide on the same start date, but everyone's starting in the same week in August, so that helps. We're working on the annual report, and I was hoping to have a copy of that to put in here, but we don't have that yet, so we should be getting that back from our, I forget what she's called, Linda at Ravenmark. She's amazing. So we'll have that back soon, and I'll share that out as soon as we do as well. And then I sent out surveys, common comprehensive local needs assessment type surveys. I decided we need to start doing them every year. That way we have data every year that we can look back on every other year when we're doing this Perkins review. And so we've sent out everything except the staff and student surveys. The student one, I'm waiting for the student leadership team to give me a little feedback on it before I send it out. So making sure that they've had a chance to look at all the questions and to give us some recommendations. And then the teacher one, we're just going to give them time on the January 20th PD day to do that survey, so they don't have to do it outside of their work
But
hours.
a lot have been coming in, haven't they?
Yeah. Parent surveys, it's always, if I ever am feeling down, I open up the parent surveys because it's phenomenal to hear what folks are saying about how their kids' experience is so great. So that's been the best part.
Any questions for Jody? Guy, is your hand up or are you just waving at us?
Jody, just a quick question, and I should know this. Is design and fabrication in the Perkins grant cycle?
No,
No, okay.
it was
All right, thank you.
originally in the time grant. And so if we do close the program, we have to either sell the equipment and pay it back, or we have to prove how that equipment can be used in other programs. And I think that it's a laser cutter, laser printer, CNC machine, which could potentially be used in other programs. But nothing this year is under any grant for design and fabrication.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any questions, any further questions for Jody on her report? All right. Business manager's report?
Yeah, so I also highlighted our AOE monitoring report, which is not here yet. When we sat down with them, we were able to review some of the information, and so we were able to make updates immediately, although those will still come in as recommendations. So when we get the report, we can kind of check off a lot of things we've done a lot of work already to complete some things, but we will just have to see when we get that tomorrow. We have 2 staffing updates. Everybody knows we have 2 open positions at this time, an interim co-op coordinator and a coordinator of adult ed. If anybody's looking for jobs, send them our way. I give you a copy of our current ledger, our budget. Again, very thin budget this year. We are doing a really good job, bad job. I don't know. We're going to be cutting it very thin this year, being fully staffed. At the beginning of the year, really, we didn't have a lot of wiggle room. You'll notice that the time grant in here, we haven't spent any year to date. That was for a very specific piece of equipment, which we've just got the go ahead. So we're going to be ordering that for welding. Future financial updates in July 1st, or effective July 1st, there will be district quality standards. You'll hear about these at your sending school boards if you haven't already. What I'm getting for information is essentially, it goes over business operations, facilities, facility safety and governance of the school. So it's really the school boards and the administrative team. What I'm being told is that the first year we're going to be given a template to kind of self-monitor, assess yourself, and they expect that nobody's going to do well. That's the purpose of this, is to get everybody on the same page. So when I get those updates, I will let you know. We've been given little tidbits of information, but nothing substantial to share, but I anticipate those will be coming out.
So can I ask a question? So when you talk about district quality standards, within that, does it encompass a Common Core standards?
Nope, nothing to do with the program. It's more business
It's all
operations and
business. Okay,
facilities.
That's the ed quality standards.
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
different.
those are coming out as well, but
Yep.
not anything that specifically the
Not
business office
this.
is gonna focus on.
Yeah, these are, as I understand it, they're operational.
Okay.
Yeah, how are you doing your accounting? How are
Okay,
you getting
thank
your
you.
reporting? Those sorts of things.
And how the board functions.
Yeah, so a lot of things will probably be coming your way
Okay.
soon, I anticipate, but again, we might really not know until July.
Okay.
And again, hearing the first year is kind of a grade yourself or see where everybody is. The second year is trying to get everybody on board, giving the
Right.
help and the support. The third year is more of you're being monitored and we're
Right.
gonna get you to where you
Right.
need to be. Again, we'll see what happens at the AOE level. And then the budget discussion is to follow.
Okay. All right, well, that concludes the first portion of our board meeting, and then we can move into the board discussion and action items that we have for so long.
And we're right on time tonight, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, good.
These ones were tabled.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, so, background information. We had a policy audit. And out of that policy audit came some recommendations for updates, for practices, for example, having policies in our policy handbook that really don't apply to us,
Right.
for example. But because of the way the statutes are set up, you need to have them just the same, even
Right.
though we're not a general education public school. All right, so here we are. What we have now presented to us by that policy audit and some of these reviewed by our own attorney is that we need to look at these and adopt them for our school district.
So, Alice,
Yes, ma'am.
so on a simple level, can't you go find his or her in these documents and say, change to there?
Yep.
And then you've done that one.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we need to do that?
Yeah, I think we should do that.
We missed it.
Okay. So, we look at these at 6.1 and all of those under 6.1. Has everybody taken a gander at those?
Yeah, I've looked at them.
Yeah. Those are some that are required policies and pretty straightforward. Does anyone have any questions on any of those?
I make a motion, we approve first reading.
Okay, and that would be the 6.1ers, correct, Guy?
Yes, the 6.1ers.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and
Yeah,
a second.
good.
Any discussion on any of those? All those in favor of approving a first reading, please say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any objections? Hearing none, motion carries. So we've completed the first reading on those. All right. Now 6.2, recommended policies, second reading and adoption. These are our personnel recruitment and our professional development. Any questions or concerns on those? All right, I need a motion to.
I move we accept the,
I second.
All right, second reading and adoption, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting B20 and B21, please say aye.
I,
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion carried. Now, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5. Should we take these individually? Anyone have any questions about them individually, or could we lump them together? All right, let's do that. Let's take 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5, early retirement, budget approval, and announced tuition approval. I need a motion to accept those.
6.4 has options, so you're gonna have to discuss that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So does 6.5 based on 6.4.
Okay, let's do it then.
so we're going to 6.3?
6.3 is the discussion.
All right, so 6.3 is
Early retirement.
early retirement.
Oops,
All right. 6.3.
after professional
So
development.
to be honest, in the collective bargaining agreement, if a teacher would like to retire, they need to notify us in order to get these benefits before November 1st. That's at least to cash out any sick time, so we've passed that. I don't recommend that the board offers any retirement options at this point. We're very late in the game, and also I don't think that there's many benefits to offering it at this time, considering the staff that we have.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind, possibly we can talk about in the fall, summer even.
Okay.
But my recommendation would be, yes, we've seen this, we know, you guys know as a board, every year you can offer retirement incentives as part of the collective bargaining agreement.
All right, so, based upon that explanation, are there any questions about early retirement? All right. So,
So do we have to vote to either offer it or not, or just if we want to offer it, we have
You
to?
just can discuss it. And if you would like to, then you would vote on it. If you don't want to, you don't have to vote on it. If we just talked about it, you all know that as the board, you have the right to do so.
Guy?
Just a question about that. Does that get into the territory of negotiations?
It doesn't, because you have to do it as a board, and this is already in the agreement covering this year.
Okay.
This is already agreed to. In the future, if it changes, or if this changes under negotiation, that's at the discretion of the negotiation team, and then they can bring it to the board.
We're gonna do that
Okay,
later.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further, whose hand went up?
I think it was just Guy.
Hmm?
I think Guy's went up and down again.
Oh, guys, come up and down. So does the board wish to discuss any retirement options at this time? Consensus seems to be no, so we'll pass that as we'll save this for another year. All right. Budget approval.
So Michelle was going to originally offer you 3 options. It would have been option A, which is the level services. Option B, which would be cutting 1 program, and option C, which would have been cutting 2 programs. We opted, based on the ideas around potential duplication of a program, to bring you just the level services, and which is option A, and then option B, which is cutting 1 program from that level services.
So
Is
option
there any
A-
chance that we'll get more money from the state?
I love that. I love that idea.
There might be a way that we get it a different way, but there's not a way that we're
All
gonna.
right.
No.
If the board goes with option B, the decision for which program is to be made at a future date, or also to be made now? I guess that was a question,
It
not a
makes sense to
statement.
make that now.
If you go with B, you know you're closing a program. You
Yeah.
have to close a program, and so
Yeah.
leave
Why?
everybody in limbo?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that we could wait 2 weeks.
We have to set our tuition Wednesday
Wednesdays.
Wednesday.
by law.
Okay.
So we can wait till Wednesday morning. I have time to warn a special meeting for Wednesday morning.
So what's the difference?
An overall budget, or?
Yeah, for the $5,103, 189 minus.
Obviously, if you choose option A, they could give you time to wait. And then if Giuliano is not able to find his 10, then you could put that money to something else. But it's still kicking the can down the road a bit.
It's only $126,000.
It is, but in the context of numbers, we are looking at a 10.3% increase in overall budget, or we could bring it down to 8.1. tuition is
Right.
increased. Again, just over 10.3%, whereas it could be 6.83%.
Right.
So overall, the number, because we're used to dealing with very large districts, and ours is very small, but you can see how much of an impact that $126,000 has on us. It would reduce tuition from sending schools to about $656 per FTE, and some of your schools are quite large, where they would have, that would
Right.
equate to
That would be a lot.
thousands of dollars.
Yep.
Could be a potential position.
Well, it's going to be contentious anyway.
So basically, whatever decision you make for 6.4 tells us what 6.5 is.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on either one of these budget approvals? A or B?
Lyman's waving his hand.
Lyman, yes.
He's a tough nut, that man.
I'd like to advocate for option A. I think the fact that we have record numbers of kids applying, and it seems like the winds are heading in our direction, I think that's justifiable.
Okay, I'd like to second that. I wasn't expecting
That's
that.
okay. We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Guy, any discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Wow. All right. Any further discussion on approving option A for budget approval? All right, we'll call for a vote then. All those in favor of approving option A, a budget of $5,100,189, 10.29% overall increase, and setting the tuition at $20,847 per annum. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries, and we go with option A.
Thank you.
All right.
So I guess I move that we go with option A for 6.5, right? Or do we have to do
Gotta.
that?
Yeah.
Yes. 20847. All right. We have a motion on the floor for the announced tuition of 25.
Second?
All right. Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Do you have direction for Giuliano?
I would say, to be clear, we're just authorizing the budget and we're making a decision about programming at a future date. Is that the census that I'm getting?
That's the sense I'm getting, but I
Okay.
want to make
Yeah.
sure.
I
That's
just
what-
want to
Okay.
clarify. Okay.
I mean, as soon as you said that we could do that and defer, if it doesn't happen, it kind of
It
changed.
impacts your ability to get a teacher for a different program when we duplicate. Because we are posting,
I
the
see.
welding position is posted right now,
Yep,
not because we have an opening, but because we hired the current instructor after the August 1st. And so it's posted for next year. As soon as we get the monitoring report and we can update our co-op coordinator job description, we will post that for next year. Right now, we just have the interim for the remainder of the year posted. So this is the time we start posting.
yep,
If you're posting in April, people have already signed contracts.
right.
We might not have that problem because they're coming from the field potentially,
Right,
but they need to be thinking about
right.
shifting careers.
But in a week, Giuliani's going to have 9, 10 more people.
Sweet?
As students in a different area, so
Yeah.
yes, they will be there, but they're all not thinking that way.
They're not, because they don't know yet.
Correct.
Right.
So as a direction, as we empower Mr. Cicconelli to carry on with what he's doing as far as recruiting and planning?
If that's the will of the board.
Yep.
So to be clear, you're giving him the marketing?
Any discussion on that? That we would ask Mr. Cicconelli to continue doing what he's doing as far as recruiting, marketing, and advertising the design and fab program?
Going forth.
Go forth. Any further discussion? Giuliano?
Yeah, do you want an end date? I mean, I think that's the question. Yes, I will continue doing what I'm doing because I'm hired to do that right till the end of
Right.
the school year. So you need to decide what that end date will be. My feeling from Jody is April is way too far. The end of round 2 is 2 weeks earlier than that, is still kind of far away. And your next board meeting would be mid-March. So 2 months from now would be mid-March.
It'll be later in March because we have to get everybody seated on our standing school boards before we can have our board meeting. So it's a late March meeting.
But we meet in February.
We do meet in February. I can try to get whatever numbers we have at that point from the admissions team. But they will be partway through the second round admissions process.
What-
And we won't have had program preview day, so we won't know who's selected for round 1 yet.
Timing is not in our favor.
It is not.
Yeah, it's weird.
Could you set a special board meeting just to discuss this topic in between February and March?
So it sounds like the second round ends mid-March. We don't know our board until all of our boards meet. So we have the town meeting day will elect maybe 4 people if we have people running. And then then we have to wait for each of our standing school boards to meet. We'll probably meet before Cabot, just because they're the last Monday of the month. So that'll give us the majority of our board, but it's gonna be the 3rd Monday of the month that we would probably have to set aside. It's on our agenda actually here to discuss when we're gonna have that March meeting. But we have to have our boards seated before we can have a March meeting. And because we have 6 appointed members, we're reliant on our sending boards.
Could you do it before the end of February, a special meeting?
We have the annual meeting and we have a budget forum then. But still, there would be 2 more weeks of potential applications.
But you'd have a better, I think, clearer picture than beginning of February.
Yeah,
By the end of February. I'm just trying to,
thank you.
thinking outside the box and coming up with solutions for you.
So for those of us who are elected and then have to be appointed, that interim, so I'm done with 1 year of my 3-year term, so
You're not a
I'm not,
problem.
what's up?
Well, you get appointed, your board has to appoint every year. So they have to decide to
Oh.
appoint you. You have to decide you want to come back.
Right.
But at what point at what point am I no longer appointed to this
In
board?
3 years. When you're
Until
3
the
years
appointed
is
Town
up.
meeting day.
Is it though?
Yeah.
If you're still on your board,
Yeah.
it's until they appoint another one. If you're
Yeah.
not on your board.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
But
as
for
long as we
you,
have a
you're
quorum
here.
of
Yeah.
board members who have been appointed already and haven't been unappointed, we could have a special meeting in March that was
Yeah.
earlier.
Do you think that would upset either
we-
incoming board?
I could certainly
To have a
ask.
meeting without them.
Hopefully not, but like,
Yeah.
I'm curious, can I ask, how many of you are wanting to come back? Oh, I'm appointed. I
Yeah.
don't count. I mean,
I
Yeah,
think the
Okay,
question
Jason's
is,
coming back. Guy's trying. Anyone who lives in Berrytown, Guy's looking for signatures.
Yeah.
okay.
But you know what? You don't need them from Berrytown, anywhere. All 18 towns can sign.
Yeah.
yes.
I intend to remain on this board, so I assume I will get appointed again. And
Yeah.
I'm not running for a seat at this point in
Right.
time.
I have to run for a seat, but I know that I'll be appointed because they'll say, do you want to keep doing this? And I'll say yes, and everybody will say great, and that'll be the end of it. And there's nobody running against me because nobody's ever going to run against me.
Until they heard this
A
meeting and
virtual
then they're like, that's it.
So when is February vacation?
The last 20,
The last week of, yeah, and that's when we have, where's our annual meeting?
Oh.
February break begins on the 24th.
Yeah,
And we
Our
come back.
annual meeting
That's
is
the
that
date.
Monday.
Yeah.
February 24th is the
Then we-
annual meeting. We could tack it on to that,
Yeah,
I won't be here.
except Jana won't be here.
I won't be here.
phone in.
I'll be in California with my brother-in-law. Visiting my brother-in-law. What day is it? The 24th?
It's a Monday.
Oh, it's a Monday?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back.
Okay, good. All right. So,
Except my
so that's the annual meeting, and why don't we just do that? Why don't we plan on
Oh,
having
God.
the meeting
We'll
that
warn
day?
a board meeting
Yeah.
that day too, okay?
Yep, plus a board meeting.
The 24th?
Yep.
Oh. I'll miss my book group.
Invite them.
Yes.
Gosh. It's here already in my calendar.
Yep. Okay. So, does that answer all our questions?
Guidance was pretty clear that they'd like us to make that decision sooner rather than later, so let's not push it off too far.
Yeah. So we'll keep it there. All right.
And you'll be for that one? You'll be for, at that one, Lyman? It's still February.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be in Tokyo, but I'll be there.
All right.
Sweet.
Ohio. But anyway, all right, so we'll be all set with that. So we'll look for a board meeting on Monday, February 24th, and make any further decisions right there.
Yep.
All right. So we've completed that. The announced tuition, we're settled with that. Moving on
Executive session.
to superintendent evaluation.
Oh.
So
Lyman.
hopefully you're all able to take a look at the PDFs that I sent. If they're good, Chip's gonna send them out tomorrow.
I thought they were great.
Yeah. Yeah,
I like the two.
all right.
You need a motion for that?
I think we can just go with consensus. Anybody have any questions about the superintendent evaluation? No, all right. Lyman, I think you're clear to tell Chip that he's good to go.
Do that right now, thank you.
Okay.
Nice job, thank you.
Budget warning and approval.
So all three of the next ones, the budget and warning, the ballot language approval, and the annual meeting, just know that we're gonna fill in those X's with the amount of the budget you adopted, which was $5,103,189. So you'll see that in Article 2 of each one. And then the only thing that's on this annual meeting that was not previously is to determine if we can set up a capital fund, because the annual meeting has to do that. We can't do it as a board. So that's an addition so that we could, if we have extra funds at any point in the future, that we could then put them into a capital fund for the facilities project.
All right. So we need a motion to approve the budget and warning.
So moved.
So moved. Any
Second.
second? All right, we got a second. Any discussion on the budget and the warning? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstentions? No. All right, budget and warning is approved. The ballot language approval, I need a motion to approve the budget language as it was explained.
So moved.
All right, so I need a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go with Jana this time, okay. Second, any discussion on budget language?
No.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, ballot language is approved. The annual meeting warning. I need a motion to approve the annual meeting warning.
So moved.
Jana?
Second.
All right, second, got a second? Any discussion on the annual meeting warning? Hearing, geez, I'm getting a little crazy here. Annual meeting warning, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Motion carries.
When do we have to sign it? Don't we all?
Yeah.
We can do it now? Excellent.
Yep.
I printed both copies.
That
I wasn't
was
sure where you guys were
perfect.
gonna go.
Okay. All right.
And if you're online, you'll have to find a
Just
way
don't
to
have a
get to
signed
us
one.
to sign it.
All right. And now we're up to the March meeting date.
I was gonna propose March 17th. I know that Cabot will meet on the 24th, but since Jason is not running and he'll still be the appointed member, that seems like it should be okay. We wouldn't have seated members necessarily with all their other stuff done by the 10th. So 17th.
Any questions about March 17th for a March meeting?
Who's bringing the green?
Who's bringing the Guinness?
Well, that one is actually being hosted at Cabot,
Oh,
so.
Awkward.
I have to see
Probably
that.
shouldn't bring them back.
We'll have it at the hardware store.
Okay. As long as we're in the town of Cabot, we should be good, right?
You'll have fun there.
That stays in cabinet.
all right.
And is recorded. Sorry.
Yes. What fun.
I may not be there, but.
And I will, and then you have to
If
remember.
that doesn't work, like, say so now.
All right,
All right.
and we will be cautious.
I'll confirm that with them.
All right. And tuition reimbursement request.
There are two of them.
Yes, okay.
I know.
One of
We
them
have
is
to vote
Juliana.
on our
Gonna-
March meeting
yeah,
date.
Nobody voted on the March.
Oh,
Oh. Do we have consensus for March 17th for a board meeting?
you probably should vote because there's a few people who maybe don't want to give up their other plans.
Oh. All those in favor of March 17th school board meeting? Okay. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. We're good to go March 17th in Cabot. All right. All right, now,
So per the collective bargaining unit, we do provide for folks that are in a degree program, they can have up to 6 credits. If they're not, up to 3 credits. And for our teachers who are on a apprenticeship license, we pay for 9 credits a year. And that's because that is what it takes to go through the apprenticeship program, so we pay for all of that. And Giuliano is on the apprenticeship license, and so is already taking those courses, and so he's asking for additional for the writing course.
okay.
Obviously, he's here, so he could speak to it.
Where are you taking it?
It is, in the beginning of the year, the district had a 2-day PD work session with someone from Collins Writing, and I thought it was extraordinary, and for someone who doesn't write very well, very advantageous. And it was offered to the faculty to take a 3-credit course. And I felt it was a great opportunity because I would be off-site and I wouldn't have immediate access to the folks who help us with writing. So being on my own, I thought it would be good to have that knowledge to pass it along to the students.
Excellent.
It's a
Well,
great
from-
program too. People speak really highly of it.
Yep.
From
Okay.
one bad writer to the next, can I just move that we approve it?
Good. Hold on a second. Guy had his hand up and then we'll go. Guy, comment, question?
Ouch, my esteemed colleague. So I'm up two hats here. Unfortunately, there are two really good hats. So I love my colleague and staff member who is not only a board member for Ascending School, but also a great staff member who we talked about tonight. Having said that, and having been on negotiations for quite a while, the issue I have here is that negotiations are made for a reason, and you negotiate it. And every time you go outside the box, it kind of, violate, it kind of makes, I don't want to say it makes fun of the process, but then someone has to say, why do the process if you're not going to follow the contract? Now, this could be a contract precedent-setting thing, and I understand that. So I just want to say that. I'm not going to vote for or against it right now, but I just want to lay that out there. I haven't had a negotiation where people gave up what they negotiated. So, and that's why we do it. So that's my 2 cents. And, I say that because I love Giuliano and, but
Thank
this
you.
is not about personalities, this is about policy.
So can I just really quickly ask a clarifying question? So if I understand correctly, the agreement that we have bargained allows for
Tuition reimbursement?
tuition reimbursement, but also allows for additional reimbursement if it's exhausted, right? Isn't this 17.3 from the bargaining agreement?
It's that they can request it,
Yeah,
and the board at their discretion could approve additional funds,
yeah,
Right.
but they're not required to.
absolutely.
But he's asking for the 1,235.
This is outside of the contract. This process.
I think it's really.
And taken
important.
as, if we look at the second request that we have, that teacher is on a provisional license for CTE, working on the English endorsement, and has taken 3 credits, was planning on taking 3 more, but could complete the 6 required. If they were on an apprenticeship license, they would be able to get 9. They're not. It's a different license because it's a provisional for, because she is a licensed teacher. And so she's also making that request for additional. I included her follow-up email because she wanted you to know that the course cost was a little different than UVM rate, which yours is as well.
Terry, question, comment?
Well, I'm thinking about Michelle and her lack of sleep over the budget and our thin budget we have for this year. If we say yes, Michelle, you're gonna lose more sleep.
If you were to take each individual request and grant them on a case-by-case basis, that would be appropriate. Sweeping this across, and I know that's not what you're doing, but to put it in perspective, we can't do this for every teacher this year. We can't afford it. Could we grant these 2? Yes. Could we do a third? I don't know, you'd be really pushing it. I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars, and we only have $230,000 left for the entire year.
So then we
So
can
what I'm
say
saying
we've
is, yes, you can do
exhausted.
this, but keeping in mind, let's discuss it every time these come in, not
Mm-hmm.
just because people should have professional development.
In a
Because we all
typical-
agree that they
In
should.
a typical year, how many of these requests does the board get?
This
is
is
the
our
first time.
first time in 3 years that somebody has
Oh, really?
needed
You've got
additional
two.
funds.
Yep.
First time in
So-
3 years, did you
First
say?
time in 3 years. So it's very far and
Yeah,
few between,
sporadic.
except that there's 2 now, so.
Right.
But that was a great question, thank you.
Right. We have a motion on the floor to approve. I need a second. Second. Any discussion? I mean, Guy?
Jody, what makes you more comfortable? What makes life easier for you in terms of these decisions?
I don't know that there is anything. I would just say that I hope this doesn't open the door to everyone asking, because we couldn't do that. That's the hard part. If we can do it once in a while to support someone, it's also hard because you never know for sure that anyone's going to first sign a contract next year and come back. There is nothing in our current CBA that requires anyone to pay anything back if they leave us or if we dismiss them because we close a program. So it's up to you if you want. I think it's always right to invest in our teachers. And if everybody asks, we can't. So it's just a struggle.
May I add something, Jody? So my intent when this first came out was to pay for it. There was an error in the tuition amount. So the tuition amount exploded 3 times. I was willing to pay what they were asking. Was it 3 times?
Yes.
3
no,
times.
It's one, yeah, because it was 1 credit cost.
Yeah, so they made a mistake and considered the 3 credit course as a 1 credit. So I was gonna pay for it out of my pocket, and I had already committed to the class, and then the amount changed. So that's when I approached Jody with this. My intention was to pay for it at the decreased cost.
The 1 credit cost,
Yes.
it's a big difference.
If I may, I'd like to just step away from being chair for a minute and add my own 3.5 cents as 2 cents adjusted for inflation. In my years, not only as an educator, but in working with curriculum development, one of the weakest points in, I would say, career and technical education is writing. And I rely upon some history with this, having been an EMT myself and seen graduates of an EMT program put down ASMA, asthma, for, yes, on a protocol sheet, and me having to sit there and say, what is ASMA? And it's asthma. Yeah, yes. And I finally learned to know that that's what it was. So I am wholeheartedly in favor of having any teacher in the Career Center who wishes to expand their ability to teach writing so that their students can become better writers, and we won't have asthma on protocol sheets anymore. So thank you very much. That's, again, my 3.5 cents adjusted for inflation. And now will anyone else have any discussion?
With that being said, I will approve it.
All right. So I'll call for a vote on the motion to approve. We'll do it individually. Giuliano Ceccanelli's request for a writing program. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Right on, Mr. Ceccanelli. And Cheryl York McDonough, also a request for additional,
It's actually Annie Allardyce.
oh, Annie Allardyce, okay.
Yep, the last 2 pages.
Where did-
Cheryl's teaching, Julia.
Oh, Cheryl's the teacher. Oh, I see, okay, now I got it. It looks different when it's on the, off the computer and it's in hard copy. All right, so we will now take the same situation, approve the request for tuition funding for Annie Allardyce. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Moved in second. Any discussion? Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries.
Alice, what was the March date that we said we were gonna meet?
17.
17, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes, the Green Day.
The Green Day.
I'll be gone from the 14th to the 24th.
Okay. All right. So
I won't be in Tokyo, but I'll be underwater.
you can call us from underwater and try your new scuba duba. All righty, now, we're up to number 7. We have an executive session. Anyone for personnel, correct? All right, we have an executive session for personnel, and that we enter into executive session with Superintendent Emerson for the purpose of discussing personnel decision because public knowledge would clearly place the public body or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage, and that's governed by 1 VSA Section 313.
What time is it? 7:54.
Yep. Need a motion to move into executive?
So moved.
Okay. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. Alrighty. So, we passed a motion to adjourn, correct?
Yep.
So meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is February 10th at the Twinfield School Library.
Oh, okay.
All right, and the March meeting to be held at the Cabot School Library.